This is the Become the Lion podcast. If you are aiming to become the top in your industry, not second, not above average, the top, then you have come to the right place. Become the Lion will provide you with weekly insights and motivation needed from our guests on how to escape the common herd that society lives in. If you're looking to change your life, then get ready. Welcome to Become the Lion.
Hi, this is Trevor and Nicholas from Become the Lion, and today on the show we have Austin Netzley. Austin is a book marketing expert and the founder and CEO of Epic Book Launch. He's the author of Make Money, Live Wealthy, and co-creator of 6 Months to Six Figures. Austin, welcome to Become the Lion.
Trevor, man, I am just pumped to be here. I love the name. I love your mission. I love your audience that you shared with me a little bit about. So I'm excited, my friend.
Austin, for our audience out there who's listening right now, do you mind telling them how you got started as an entrepreneur?
Sure. I got started. I was in the corporate world, and growing up, that's the only thing I knew is the corporate world. And I spent 5.5 years as an engineer in the oil industry. And a couple years in, I learned that, you know what, I was in the system, and I started to read books, and that opened my eyes to entrepreneurship. Before then, I didn't know any entrepreneurs, but nonetheless, once I started to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the 4-Hour Work Week and Think and Grow Rich and some of these books, it really opened up my eyes to what's possible and the life that I could control my own destiny and make a big impact and make a heck of a lot of money and all the things that I was really looking for. So I got started on the side. My first business was an investing business. It was day trading. I was in sales, so I had a little bit flexible schedule and started my first business. And at first it was a little bit of struggle, like ups and downs and stress with the stock market. And then I kind of took it seriously. I made the decision that, you know what, I'm going to go all in on this. And I actually stopped trading for 6 months, and I went all in to really master it and test and test and test. And then when I came back after that 6 months, I implemented what I learned. I created my own algorithm, started to build that up. So it started on the side, and I built it up enough that, you know, I was able to, of course, leave the corporate world and do it full time. And then I started traveling, and that led to some passion projects, which led to the current business that I do now. So I got started on the side of a 9-to-5, and that was the best way that I would definitely recommend a lot of people do.
As you're building your businesses, what are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome?
Oh, man. On this latest business, so my latest business is Epic Launch, and we work with authors to help them monetize their book. The biggest challenge that I face with that is in building a team. As soon as you bring employees into play, you have a lot of different factors than you do if you're just doing everything yourself. So there's the solopreneur, and then there's somebody that is building a big business. And I have hired a lot of people. I've unfortunately had to fire a lot of people as well, because employees and management and developing employees and training them and getting them to consistently perform at their highest level is a very, very, very hard thing to do. So that's a whole new learning experience for me as an entrepreneur, because my investing business was basically just me. And then I got into some online businesses, and that was basically just me and assistants. But then when I got into building this latest company, it's a lot more employees, a lot more work, and that's been a big challenge. But it's fun stuff to develop employees and to find and prospect for great people to bring on your team. And now we have a world-class team, but it's been 2 years in the making to develop that. So that's been a big challenge.
For someone who's listening to our audience right now who might be a solo entrepreneur, how do they get over the hero syndrome of essentially trying to do everything themselves and, like yourself, go out and build that team?
The first thing is to really just take an inventory of what you're spending your time on. And this is what holds so many people back. Like in my experience, it's easy. Let's use air quotes. It's quote unquote easy to get to $100,000 as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur. It's hard to get to $5 million. And the only way that you're going to get up to these big numbers is by leveraging time, others people's times, I should say, leveraging money, leveraging systems. Those three things you really want to master. Using other people's time, which is employees, leveraging systems, which is like systems, online software, or creating processes, and leveraging money. So once you start to know that you can, advertise and you can spend $1,000 and make $2,000, well, you keep doing that all day long. If you do those three things, that's how you scale up. But as far as getting over that superhero syndrome as a solopreneur, you really want to take inventory of all your tasks. Then you want to every single week pick at least just 2 or 3 of those tasks that you're doing over and over again, such as, for instance, implementing your social media or scheduling interviews or even reading your booking your travel or whatever. What are simple things that you can offload to somebody else? Because you can hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines if you want and pay them $4 an hour, and they're super happy, and you're super happy because it's saving you time. So my first hire, it was a virtual assistant in the Philippines. In fact, my second hire the second hire that I recommend is a project manager who can help keep all the glue together so that you can focus on your greatness. At the end of the day, as a solopreneur, you're holding yourself back if you're not delegating a lot of tasks. So what I always like to think of is, are the tasks that I'm doing the same task that a CEO worthy or the CEO of a company that's doing $5 million a year should be doing? So if that's like reading some emails from some customers, that's probably not what the CEO of a $5 million company is going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So what do? I offload that. But the main thing is to take inventory, and then I just identify just 1 or 2 tasks per week and start to do that, and you're going to start to free yourself up so that you can focus on A, your greatness, and B, income producing activities. If you do those 2 things, that's how you're going to rapidly scale up as an entrepreneur.
And besides outsourcing a lot of your work, what else do you attribute to your success?
I would attribute mastermind networks for sure. That was kind of the big pivot point for me to go from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur. And there's several different phases that I think about it. I think of like solopreneurs, like starting and hustling and side hustling, right? And then I think of an entrepreneur, somebody who's really building something. And then I think of the next level, which is CEO. And all these things are really, related, or they're the same person, but they're just different phases. But moving towards a CEO is what you hopefully ultimately want to do, so that you can create a company that you can sell, or a company that gets to multi-million dollars. But what really got me to start to make that transition was joining a mastermind network, joining a group of like-minded people that were doing things that I had wanted to do, doing things that I had someday dream of doing, whether that was building $1 million online business or even starting a podcast or whatever. I joined a couple mastermind networks and was able to really start to, for the first time, find those people that had the same dreams and ambitions as I. So if you don't have that right support network in place, like most of us, throughout society, we've got some toxic people in our life, whether that's friends or family members. We've got the same people around us that were growing up. But ultimately, you have to create the right environment for yourself. Your environment creates who you become. So a mastermind network is probably the number one way that you can really start to accelerate your learning process, build that support team and network, which is so crucial as an entrepreneur. Change your network overnight, and just really take your opportunities and mentality and motivation to the next level. And that's the number one thing I recommend for people doing, is to join some type of mastermind network.
And I'm not sure who said the quote, but it goes something along like this, where they say your network equals your net worth. And I think you just explained that great for our audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you look at, maybe you're listening to this and your goal is to earn $200,000 in the next 12 months. But when you look at your network, those 5 people that you spend the most time with average out what their salary is. And odds are, if you're not at $200,000 yet, or you're not confident that you're headed in that direction, odds are that those people, the average is much, much lower than $200,000. And I'm just making up numbers. But at the end of the day, it's so true. And it's always within about 20%. So if my friend Peter Voog says, if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you're going to be the 6th. And also on the other end, if you hang out with 5 negative people, you're going to be the 6th. So really create your environment, because it does create who you become.
Let's say someone is listening to this episode right now in our audience, and they're like you, they're working a 9 to 5. How did you get over that fear of leaving that job and not having a concrete income source?
I was fortunate that I did have a concrete income source. Well, not concrete. I had my own income source that I started. The best thing that I can recommend for people to do that are in a 9 to 5 is start something on the side, because what you really want is that traction. And once you get some traction, you get a little bit more confidence, you get some income coming in, and you're really confident that if you just spend more time doing it, aka full time, and lead the corporate world, that you can get more results. But the main thing is getting that initial momentum, and that's the hardest part, is getting that initial momentum so that you can really get over the hump mentally. Now, even after I started making money on the side, it still took me 2 years before I actually quit my job. I was at some points making more money by pressing an on and off button with my day trading algorithm than I was by working my full-time job. My full-time job paid me a lot of money. I was making 6 figures. So it basically was a no-brainer for me to leave the corporate world, but it took me so much to get over that because I was afraid. And because I didn't have that network around me that was that I was comfortable with. It was just like me and my solopreneur business. So that's why it goes back to really having that support network around you. And the best way to have a great support network is with a mastermind network.
You've written a book called Make Money, Live Wealthy, and it's very intriguing to me. I love the title, but why did you decide to write the book?
Yeah, the book was something that I didn't initially think about. I started my first online brand and business as I was traveling around the world. So I left the corporate world. I had some success with my first business. I was just traveling around, and after I started traveling, I was like, well, you know what? I need to do something, and I wanted to give back in some way, shape, or form. Needed a creative outlet, needed to do something that I was passionate about. So I started a blog and podcast called Yo Pro Wealth, helping young professionals build their finances and get started in the right way from a mindset and money perspective. And it was awesome. It was fun, and going in, I was giving a lot of value, but I wasn't monetizing. And I was seeing people around me doing solid 6 or 7 figure businesses online. I was like, wait, if they're doing it, I've got to be able to do it too. And I was struggling with the growth. And for my first 9 months online, I made $2,200 total. And I was like, wait, what is going on here? I had success with my first business. I was doing well in the corporate world before I left. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I went to start to analyze the people that I looked up to, and I realized they all had a book, and they used that book as a tool to grow their business. So I took my podcast, took my own story and successes and wins and failures, and put it into a book. And I knew if I launched it, it would open up a ton of opportunities for me. And what I did was launch and market that book to be #1 bestseller. I moved over 32,000 units in the first 36 hours with a very small platform. So I really went from zero to hero pretty quickly with that brand, and it just kind of took off. And with that took off my online business. I went on to make over $106,000 in 30 days, which before then, of course, I was struggling hard for 9 months. So it really changed the game for me. And what I stumbled into was seeing that the book is the ultimate growth shortcut for an entrepreneur if you want to be any type of influencer, because it gives you credibility. It gives you media attention and awareness. It gives you JV partners. It gives you great connections. It gives you a lot of prospects and people coming to you through the book, hot prospects. So it's just a game changer for an online branded business. And I really stumbled into it, but I was just so glad that I did, because it opened up so many opportunities. And the thing with starting out as an entrepreneur and becoming a successful entrepreneur, it's all about momentum, and it's about opportunities. And if you open one door, on the other side of that is 3 more doors. And on the other side of those 3 doors is 5 more doors. So like I said, it's just all about building that momentum, and a book is a great way to do that if you do it right. So that's what's happened for me, and that's what we've helped so many people with.
Why do you think it's important for someone who's an entrepreneur starting out in business that they create more than one revenue stream?
Great question. This is a game changer. This changed my life when I saw a quote. I think it was from I think it was Warren Buffett talking about how the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. And that blew my mind because in the middle class and in the normal, day-to-day society, people have more streams of debt than they do income. And I was the same way. I initially, like coming out of college, I had the car loan, I had the student loan debt, and I bought a house. So I had the mortgage debt and I only had one stream of income with it, which was my job. And that's like the worst situation to be in, is to have more streams of debt than income. But having more streams of income, to answer your question, is great because it gives you freedom. It gives you flexibility and leverage. It gives you confidence. It gave me peace of mind. It was really a game changer for me personally. But it also makes you recession proof. Like, what happens if, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you're running an Airbnb business and all of a sudden the city puts a restriction on allowing Airbnb rentals? Like, if you have one stream of income, like your business has changed overnight. And there's so many examples where, let's say you lose your job and your company goes under and that's your only income stream. Well, you lose your income overnight. But if you have multiple streams of income, you can always go to the next one and go to the next one. So it's great because it gives you all the things that I talked about, such as leverage and freedom and flexibility. But really, it's important to give you more options and more opportunity to do what it is that you really want to do. So now I have at least probably 7 to 9 income streams, and look forward to adding more.
Let's say someone who's listening to our audience right now take someone like yourself a few years ago, and they're coming out of college and they have all this debt attached to them. How do you think they can pay off that debt quickly than what they would normally have to?
Great question. I came out of college and I had $81,000 of debt, and I still remember how sick that made me feel. I was just stressed about it all the time. I felt like I had a black cloud over my head. And the best thing that you can do with paying off debt is, number one, get clear. Get clear on the numbers. What are all your debts? Get a free credit report. Start to see exactly what you have out there. Start to understand when you have to start paying things back. Most people that I ask, they say, oh, I've got a heap load of student loan debt. I ask them exactly how much and what their percentages are that they have to pay in interest, and they don't know. They don't know any of that. So getting clear is the first best step. The next thing, of course, is then to create a plan. And you want to make sure that things are automatic. You want to make sure that you're paying your debt off as quickly as possible. Now, so many times we just pay the minimums off on debt, and then are buying a new car, or buying, the latest iPhone and everything else. But you've got to realize that if you are in debt, you're holding yourself back from having the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is freedom. And it wasn't until I was out of debt personally that I really felt like I could take some risks, that I felt that I could comfortably do whatever it is that I want. And that's like a crazy empowering feeling to have, is if you can completely make your own decisions and not necessarily have to owe anybody money or do anything else, right? It's just awesome. So number one, get clear. Number two, create a plan. You can do one of a couple different strategies. One strategy is to pay off the highest interest rate loan first, as much as you can. That's what I did, because you'll pay the least amount of interest. But if you have trouble sticking to that, if you have trouble kind of keeping yourself accountable, definitely do the other strategy, which is to pay off the smallest loan that you have. So let's say you have 3 loans. One's for $5,000, one's for $10,000, and one's for $15,000. With this strategy, you would just pay off the $5,000 loan first. Now, what this does is have you completely get rid of that $5,000 loan first. So then you only have 2 loans left. And that's just like a psychological win. You want to set yourself up for success by doing that. So it's called Debt Snowball. You can look into it on Google if you have any more questions on that. But really, I mean, the main thing is, as soon as you get super, super clear on all your debts, the solutions kind of become clear. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is there's also some alternative things that you can do. You can do credit consolidation. You can do some different you can use some different services where they reduce your loan rates and whatnot for in certain circumstances. And if you work for a nonprofit, then you can have some loans removed as well. So just look into take a Saturday, take 3 hours to get really clear on what your options are, what your numbers look like, and pay it off as soon as possible so that you can get to the point where you can take a lot more risk.
Austin, I wanted to say this interview has been excellent so far. And now we're going to enter the Lions round, where I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick questions before we end the show today.
Awesome.
What would you say to someone who's just starting out and going after their dream?
Do it. Find people that have already done it and learn from them. It's going to accelerate your process so much quicker.
Do you happen to have 2 or 3 books that you'd recommend for our audience to read?
The book that changed my life is How to Win Friends and Influence People. So I cannot not recommend that one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich. Those are the same books that I'm sure everybody else is recommending, but at the same time, we're recommending them for a reason. Read them again, and take some notes, but really go back to that first one. Find people that have done what you want to do, follow them.
And Austin, last question of the day. Where can our audience find you?
You guys can find me at austinnetzley.com. That's AUSTIN, and the last name's Netzley, NETZLEY.com. We've got some cool things going on for authors and entrepreneurs, so come check us out.
And Austin, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with our audience.
Trevor, you are the man, my friend. I'm so pumped for you. I appreciate you having me on, and really excited to connect in the future.
Thanks for listening to Become the Lion. Everything from today's show will be in our show notes on our website. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Till next week, don't stop grinding.